this is going to set the mood and the tone, especially for China and India. Some state companies out of China have already been vocal about the fact that, it's becoming frightening for them to buy Russian oil because of, sanctions. So it's not the strangulation yet, but, definitely the mood will be gloomy.
President Zelensky has welcomed the EU's 19th package against Russia announced today as he's meeting European leaders in Brussels.
Sanctions limit Russia's war machine, but they also put pressure on the people who influence politics, corporations, Putin's inner circle, and Russian oligarchs, and the entire state system. Thousands of influential people in Russia must clearly feel and understand that Putin and this war are a deadly threat to them, threat to their lives and their money and their future. That's why we should act without delay. We waited quite a while for the 19th sanctions package, but it is finally approved. Thank you for that. This is a great success. Thank you so much, dear leaders. Now it's important to fully put into an action.
So Volodymyr Zelensky. This is as the United States imposes sanctions on two Russian oil giants, Rosneft and Lukoil, responsible for half the country's global oil exports. Zelensky also pushes for the EU to seize frozen Russian assets, admitting the conversations he had today were not simple. The decision is on the table now. Igor Novikov is a former advisor to President Zelensky and is on the line. Hello to you, Igor.
Hello, John. Hey.
Always welcome, Igor. So these Trump sanctions, they look pretty powerful. Are you surprised? Are you impressed?
No, I was expecting it, to be honest, because I wasn't a huge believer in this meeting in Budapest, because Putin is only trying to buy himself some time. And that was likely to infuriate Donald Trump at some point. And luckily, it happened sooner rather than later. So I'm not surprised. I don't think the sanctions are sufficient enough to strangle Russia just yet, but definitely a very good kind of marker of things to come if Putin doesn't come to the negotiating table.
Okay, I want to come in a moment onto what more might be done, what needs to be done. But President Trump calling this a tremendous set of sanctions. How tremendous are they? What will be the real impact on the Russian economy and its oil trade?
Well, I think first and foremost, this is going to set the mood and the tone, especially for China and India. Some state companies out of China have already been vocal about the fact that, it's becoming frightening for them to buy Russian oil because of, sanctions. So it's not the strangulation yet, but, definitely the mood will be gloomy. And I think they will now, for the first time probably since the invasion in 22, they're going to think whether their kind of strategy and policy towards Russia is going to pay off in the end.
Right. Let's just look at the EU now. There's action against the Russian energy trade there too. There is something of a carve-out for Slovakia and for Hungary, which are, to a large extent dependent on Russian energy. I mean, do you recognise the case for that carve-up? What should be done?
Well, unfortunately, especially Hungary, they have been trying to stay neutral in this war, and Orban's government is actually seemingly pro-Russian, sometimes kind of even crossing that line from neutrality towards kind of supporting certain talking points that Russia provides. So I think it's necessary because the EU relies on unanimous voting, but at the same time, this problem should not be ignored because divide and conquer has been Putin's kind of strategy all along, and EU, especially with Russia, the potential kind of phantom menace, if you will, coming from Russia, they cannot afford to kind of have that division in the Union.
Okay. Now, meanwhile, the European Council now discussing the freezing of these Russian assets and providing a loan. It's been called a loan, a reparation loan, although Ukraine will not be asked to pay this money back. Now, that is a very, very big check, assuming all of this goes through as planned. And how important is this to Ukraine, Igor?
It is important because, we're fighting the war of attrition and the economy is not in a best of shapes, as you can imagine. But it's more important because Putin needs to feel that pain of continuing this war, that direct causality between what he does and what happens to Russia and Russia's assets and economy. I remember back in March 22, I even suggested to a few of my colleagues that we need to look into kind of introducing that direct causality. So the idea was to freeze those assets and make Russia pay per strike. So basically, they destroy a building, they pay for it straight away with interest. Yeah. And, that kind of, the psychology of it alone would have been sufficient to at least kind of turn their attention to why they're doing it. And unfortunately, now there's no other way with Russia to end this war other than to escalate with them. Right. They will say.
Okay. Meanwhile, Igor, Ukraine has been striking targets inside Russia. Most recently, I think the Ryazan oil installation near Moscow, and Ukraine's been using British Storm Shadow missiles. And by the way, the other day, Donald Trump said the idea that America had given permission for the use of those Storm Shadows was fake news. What did he mean by that? Because you do need a measure of American agreement. There's American technology involved, isn't that right?
Well, you need to separate the result of those strikes, the direct physical result on the ground, and the psychological side of things. So at the moment, I can neither confirm nor deny what weapons are used for those strikes, because those weapons are a psychological kind of weapon in their own. So basically, as I said to you previously, the first Tomahawk that officially and openly lands in Russian territory will begin a very interesting countdown for Putin. So he either escalates and then ends this war, or he gets ripped to pieces by his own bloodthirsty crowd.
Igor Novikov, good to talk to you as always. Thank you. Igor is a former advisor to President Zelensky.
Good afternoon, dear.
My position that, first of all, we need to use any kind of Russian money for Ukrainian production and increase it. It's cheaper and quicker. And we speak, first of all, about long range. It's about drones. It's about electronic warfare, systems of electronic warfare, and it's about missiles.
Please don't forget to stand up.
That's why I said the package number 2 is from Europe, and it's understandable because money are from Europe, and it's understandable that the second package is European. We are ready to spend this money to co-production also, so we are ready for this, and also air defense. But against the ballistic, we like or not, and it depends on one or another leader. But we have to recognize United States has PAC-3. And there's only one way for today how to destroy ballistic missiles from Russia, attacking our infrastructures.
It sounds like the conversation today is not as smooth as many hoped, and there may be some...
In any case, one of the ways to pressure on them, and by the way, they're afraid very much, that Europe will make this union decision. And of course, one of the way is to use frozen assets. And between us, not only on humanitarian things. Yes, because they attack us. We need to defend and answer.